Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, welcome back. Episode 2. I actually want to start with saying thanks, I guess, to everybody who's shared, listened, tweeted, hashtagged up until this point. I think there was probably more people listened before we actually launched it than have since we've launched it. So I guess I want to say thanks to everybody for listening, and thanks for everybody who pointed out that I sounded like I was in a biscuit tin. I've resolved that situation, and we're good to go. So
what's a biscuit tin, by the way, for us US folks?
Oh yeah. Because I was going to tweet this biscuit. So biscuits, like I guess like a cookie. I know biscuits for you is like something that you have with like Thanksgiving dinner. So I guess it's like a cookie jar in a tin version.
Okay, I gotcha. We have like tin can cookie jars too. So a biscuit tin would be like what you have biscuits in, and then a tin can if you were talking into it. Got it.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
I was so confused. I'm like, what? You mentioned a couple times, like, what's a biscuit tin? I know it's definitely a UK thing. So
yeah, we maybe need to have like UK US translation for like slang words and stuff.
That's funny.
But yes, anyway, I'm Ben Canning. This is Hacking Your Health.
Oh yeah, this is Dave too. Yeah, this is Dave from Hacking Your Health as well, and welcome everybody to our podcast this week. I think we're really excited. I think last week went really well. We had a great launch this week. A lot of great feedback from the community. I think our objectives of this podcast is really to reach everybody, right? It's not just for the security industry. It's not just for specific industries. It's for men. It's for women. It's for anybody going through lifestyle changes around, fitness and health and mind and body and business. It's really for everybody out there. And our real goal is to teach the fundamentals and then get more advanced as we go along. So if you follow us through our podcasts, hopefully you start to learn more and more about your body, how it works, and how you can tailor it to yourself to be successful long term. And that's really what I'm excited about. When I remember I was joining Ben's program, I knew nothing. I was again diets. And as I started to piece together, the foundation, and I heard a motivational speech the other day where there was a slogan that this individual used. It was, rock bottom, is not a bad place to be when you can build a great foundation off of it. And when you look at that and you say, well, if I'm rock bottom in my health and my fitness and how I'm taking time for myself, let's build a solid foundation. And that really comes with awareness, education, and understanding your body. And that's really what we're trying to do with this. It's not for bodybuilders. It's not for powerlifters. It can be, but it's really the fundamentals of your body. And then we hopefully will have some great guests on here. We're looking at scientists and people that focus on your body and things to that effect, and just really amazing experts in this industry. But hopefully, we can take it away and you can really make actionable changes for yourself.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is I wanted to have some sort of like format and structure that it's not all over the place and people can, start at the start and literally work their way through based on, where they're at and things that they can do to improve. And then obviously if they implement the steps that we go through, as we get a bit more in depth and a bit more in detail, it'll allow them to sort of refine things a bit more and, improve on whatever aspect it is.
Yep. And I think, if you haven't yet read it yet, and happy to post this in the show notes, but I kind of summarized everything into detail around what Ben has taught me throughout the year, called Hacking Health: The Journey to Living Longer. And I'll make sure I put this on the show notes, but it's on my Medium post, and it breaks down. If you get all you need is 40 minutes to read this, and it hopefully will give you a great baseline to follow. And we're going to be covering it in each of these podcasts too. But if you got 40 minutes of reading, just check out that link. It goes into everything about my struggles, from being, extremely obese all the way to where I'm at today, how you build, and calculate how many calories you're doing, how you should track calories, the differences between fat, carbohydrates, and everything else, really breaks into, what we're going to be covering in this podcast, which, I'll kick it over to Ben for this one, but the 4 pillars of success, really, the 4 pillars that will make you successful in your journey, in your health, and everything else that's out there. And I think these disciplines are, something that everybody should be striving for. And what Ben has really, drilled into us that has made us successful, but you can absolutely do it on your own. I understand, financial situations for folks, can't afford personal trainers, can't get to a certain point. So, again, we're really here to arm you with everything that you possibly need to be successful in your journey. Regardless if you have a personal trainer, regardless if it's Ben, regardless of who it is, or as yourself, really giving you everything you need to be successful.
Yeah, I think that sort of leads us right in. Again, obviously from the conversation that you and I had, there was a couple that sort of overlapped. And I guess the best start point for me is whenever I started, as a coach, my thought process and the things that I sort of wanted to focus on and implement, like on a fundamental level. As we were just chatting about, whenever I started, the sort of tagline for BC Training was body, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset. As I matured and developed as a coach, I realized that they were almost exactly the opposite way around to what they should be. So, I've changed them to now read mindset, lifestyle, nutrition, and body. I feel like with anything in any sort of journey, whether it's fitness, whether it's business or whatever, you need to nail the mindset first. The lifestyle bit then comes after, then you manage your nutrition, and the body almost follows in terms of, if you've nailed those things, your body will improve in whatever direction you're trying to take it.
Yeah. And just as an example today, everybody, mindset is I think the number one most important aspect of all of this, as you mentioned, right? It really is the opposite, right? Your body can go along with it. You can have the right nutrition, but if your mindset and your lifestyle aren't there, especially your mindset, you're not going to go out there when you're feeling crappy. You're not going to go out there and put the work in. One of your tweets, I think you did a few months ago, really resonated with me, which was, yes, I could be lazy. I think you used, the F word. Yes, you could be effing lazy. Hey, this is a no hold barred podcast. So if you want to throw an F bomb out there, we should get a bet going in BC Family of when you're going to drop an F bomb. But what episode it's going to be. But yes, I could be lazy and sit on the couch and do nothing. And yes, my body is, my mind is telling me to sit on the couch and watch TV and eat, whatever I want to. But that's not who I am, and that's not where my journey's at. Right, my journey is putting in the work every day. And yes, there's, you have to listen to your body. If you're getting injured or you're hurt or, you're overworking yourself, you absolutely want to, take care of that. But, the mindset is, to be able to say, listen, fitness is part of my journey for the rest of my life. It's no different than getting up to brush your teeth or to take a shower or putting underwear on or making your bed or going to work. You make time for that because it's part of your day to day that you have to do. And that's the mindset, right? When I got up this morning, I was tired. I got up super early. I like to wake up a little bit later. I'm more of a late riser. And I woke up this morning at 7, which I hate waking up early. But I'm like, hey, I got to get my workout in. It's what I have to do. It's just normal now. My brain has changed over time, and it took a while to get there. And I want to I can't wait to talk about the nutrition aspects, because the nutrition was the same way mindset wise as well, where instead of food as a reward, food becomes a supplement for my lifestyle and my body. And, I think the biggest thing that resonated with me in my mindset is that it's not an overnight switch, but once you start to do it in repetition, it becomes a habit. It becomes a daily routine. It becomes something that you have to fit in. And just today's an example, we were chatting before the podcast started, and Ben's like, how you doing? I'm like, I literally just got done destroying my legs and triceps, right? Because that's the only time I have today to get it done. And I make time to be able to do it and fit it into my schedule when I can. So if I got to wake up earlier, or if I have to go and do things, I fit my calendar in to handle the lifestyle that I now have. And that's the big shift. And I had somebody direct message me about mindset, and we can get more into detail on the mindset aspect of things. But how do you get to the gym when you just don't want to go to the gym? And I think you have to tell yourself, well, I'm going to the gym. Even if I don't want to go to the gym, I have to go to the gym. And guess what? You can also tell yourself, and this has worked really well for me, is if I get to the gym and I start sweating and I don't feel like going to the gym again, then I'll leave. But I guarantee you, as soon as you break that sweat, your body's like, oh, I got to put the work in. Cool, I'm in. It happens to me time and time again. As soon as I break that sweat, I'm in. And so, you just need to become more of a routine, get yourself into it, listen to motivational speakers like Jocko and a lot of others to get you going. Just fantastic people that keep it going every day, change it. Yeah.
And us.
Oh, and us. And of course us, especially Ben. But I think that's the thing, it's like when you start looking at these different pillars, it's really about building on a foundation of where you are today. And Ben and I are completely different people, body type wise. Ben struggled being skinny his entire life. I struggled being fat my entire life. So how the perspectives that we have on both spectrums have really led us to where we're at today. And this framework can apply to anybody that's trying to put on mass, that's trying to lose weight, that's trying to be super skinny, that's trying to get super jacked like me. I'm trying. Well, not yet. I'm getting there. I want to continue to get jacked. But it's really a journey that you have to make for the rest of your life, and you can do it. Trust me, you can do this. Yeah,
I actually had a conversation this morning, just sort of touching on the mindset sort of things. It's people are like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'm sure I've said this to you before, and I've definitely said it in the group calls. Whenever I sort of have a bit of resistance in terms of like, if it's training or I want to go and do X, Y, and Z or whatever, I stop for a second. And I think, okay, right. I think, where is it that I want to be? Like, what is my goal with this? Whether it is, training, whether it is in business or whatever it is, and whatever the decision that I'm making, I'm like, is this in line with my goal and the person that I want to become? And if you sort of take that couple of seconds to do that, it'll put you in the right frame of mind to sort of move forward with getting your training in, getting the session in that you don't want to do. And I've been in that position before. Sometimes you'll find that, I can't be bothered going to the gym. I would rather just sit and play Call of Duty or whatever it is. And as soon as you get to the gym, it sometimes becomes one of the best sessions you've had in a long time, because you're not in that sort of, you don't have the expectation in it. It's more like, I have to go and do this. I have to go and do that. And actually, speaking of Twitter, like, I don't mean to be a big Twitter advocate now that I've been on it for however many months. But I tweeted the other day, and it's not that I have to, but it's that I get to. It's a privilege. It's not a chore to be able to go and work out. And if you think about the people, who don't have the ability or the capability or whatever it is, you need to sort of have a bit of perspective on that front. A flip side of that as well, and actually I'll lead you into this going on vacation next week. Anytime I go anywhere, I will always train, whether it's on holiday, whether I'm away for 2 weeks, whether I'm away for a weekend, I'll always make time to train. People are like, oh, you're mad, you train whenever you're on holiday or vacation if you're listening in America. But it's a massive part of my life. Do you know what I mean? Why would I not? Just because I'm on holiday doesn't mean I'm going to stop training. And it's that sort of taking the time to build your mindset is, this is just a part of my day. And like you said, it's like putting your socks on, it's like getting dressed, like brushing your teeth. It is just literally another part of your day.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how I calculate everything that I'm going to do from a workout perspective when I go on vacation now. So like, right next week, I'm going literally in the middle of nowhere camping. I'm going to be like literally no cell reception, no power, in the middle of nature, right? And so I ordered a portable bench, and I'm bringing my dumbbells with me that have variable weights so I can get my workouts in, right? And, I'm also looking at, well, okay, I need to supplement protein while I'm out there, so make sure I bring protein powder and all this. I went to Vegas for Black Hat. My bag probably looked like a pharmaceutical bag with all the supplements and the protein and everything else that I had in it. It was like literally baggies for every day of, like my supplements. And we'll get into supplements and stuff like that. I'm ridiculous on it. I probably take way too much than I should. But, but I get my blood work done. It's all great. It's nothing that's going to hurt me, and even if it's in excess. But, it's like, I plan all of my routines now around that. And and before I go, I'm looking at, okay, well, which gyms can I hit? And if you're ever in Vegas, by the way, there's a place called Smash Fitness. It's a bit off of the strip, like 10 minutes off of the strip. And man, oh man, that place is like my heaven of what I would build a gym like. There's like 15 rogue racks and tires everywhere and all this other stuff. And there's just a bunch of meatheads in there. I loved it, right? So and meatheads and meat women, I don't know how you pronounce it, but just amazingly fit people that are doing awesome work. And I think that's the thing too, is like, I know we're going to get into questions at the very end of this too, but it doesn't matter where you go to work out. If it's Planet Fitness or wherever, just putting the work in is important. And whether it's just steps or whether it's just, getting a run in or getting some cardio in, or whether it's weight training. We're obviously big fans of weight training. It has the most benefits for your body and fat loss, but just by putting the work in, regardless of where you go, and keeping yourself motivated, is what it's all about. And with this podcast, and also the community that we're trying to build around this, you can always share your results on We Hack Health. So hashtag We Hack Health. Ben and I monitor all the time. And so if you're just looking for a little motivation or just some, positive rewards for actually getting out of bed and going and doing things, we're going to be continuously pumping that up and pumping you up as well as part of it. And I'll tell you that little bit of positive reinforcement, or a little bit of dopamine that you get when you get that type of reinforcement is fantastic. I can't emphasize enough where, I would send a message to Ben and I'm like, dude, oh my God, I have a shoulder vein now. Dude, look at this shoulder vein. And Ben's like, dude, you're like literally an athlete now, and I'm like, he called me an athlete. That's awesome. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm going to get another shoulder vein. And I'm like, dude, look at this vein in this leg now. I have a leg vein. He's like, I don't even have a leg vein. I need to get a leg vein. So, just the motivation you can have from other people to support you as well, to lift you up, also really helps, and to have a community around you. What you built with BC Family, you should really talk about that, because I think, with Chris Hanegi and I going back and forth and always trying to beat each other. Like yesterday or 2 days ago, he ran, a 5K, which, my gosh, he is doing absolutely incredible. His journey and the amount of work that he's putting in, the transformation that he's undergoing, it's just, it's humbling for me to see, Chris. I've known him forever, right? I've known him for 15, 20 years now. And to see his lifestyle, my lifestyle, where we're at, we're both, morbidly obese, and to see what he's doing, running 5Ks now and lifting with me and trying to compete, it's just, it's amazing. And so, a little quick funny story, we always try to beat each other on Whoop. And if you're interested in Whoop, it's a great thing. If you can, do the monthly subscription service, there's a We Hack Health leaderboard. And real quick to emphasize on We Hack Health, it's for everybody, whether you're in security or not, whether you're in offense or defense. Everybody can join the hashtag We Hack Health, and it's for everybody to really share their experiences and to motivate one another. So motivate others if you see it. Be that community to help others. Especially in security where we really don't take care of our bodies. But and by the way, I just want to put one thing on mindset here is that we as hackers always talk about being the best hacker that we possibly can, right? But we don't hack our own bodies, and if we want our minds to be the best, you have to have the body there too. And it's all about the both of those being together to really be successful. And so with Chris, though, really quick, he ran a 5K. And, I always, of course, he's like, oh, I ran it in whatever, I think he said like 36 minutes or something like that, or 30 minutes. And I said, oh man, I just ran a 5K in 30 minutes, 5 seconds. But, he's winning on leaderboard, and I actually had basketball that night, so that I went and beat him. And then he, writes, I hate you so much. So, I think the family atmosphere and the community really motivates me and keeps me going with it, on top of, everything else that's out there. And that mindset and keeping you up and propelling you, even when you have just horrible days, I think is really critical.
Yeah, I think one of the points that I'd like to note on that is, yes, okay, it's great for me what I've done with the family and the community aspect and the clients and things like that. But I think, you need to give credit to yourself in terms of how you inspire other people just by doing what you're doing and using a social media platform and getting it out there. And literally just by documenting and blogging and sharing your own experience, that people are going, shit, right, well, Dave's doing this and I've seen him like this and I know him like this and now he's like this, like I want a bit of that. And it's even for you, whether it's someone that through work or whether it's Chris that you've known for years and years and years, that someone who has come on board or at least started a journey and, to better their lives, and you see how far they've come. It's almost that not that you made them do it, but you've inspired them to sort of start and make the change. So, yes, okay, I'm doing it from a coaching perspective, but you as just somebody who is wanting to better their life, being able to motivate and inspire people, no matter who they are, you need to give credit for yourself on that one. And I'd like to point out, we're not sponsored or affiliated in any way by Whoop, but we would like to be. And I feel like I maybe need to get one just to join the leaderboard.
Yeah, my I guess mission in life, or my motto in life, is always to help others and trying to make the world a better place, right? And for me, what resonated with me was being there longer for my kids, right? And to experience my kids and not being on the couch or being lazy and not being able to play baseball or football with them or basketball. That really is what drove me and my passion, right? But when I see others and I get direct messages like, oh my gosh, Dave, I've lost 17 pounds because, your inspiration of what you've been talking about, or I've done this and I just did my first workout, I'm just starting, that is the best feeling you could ever possibly imagine as a person, because, you're influencing a change in somebody else that hopefully sticks for the rest of their life, that allows them to be there for their family longer, or to be healthier in their profession or their job, right? And I think that mindset is everything. And I think you really have to focus on yourself and give time to yourself for that mindset to be successful. And that goes into lifestyle, right? And I think, when you look at lifestyle, you look at nutrition and body, all of these aspects coming together as one really create that successful ecosystem for you in this program. And, if you look at time and time again, the people that you've trained, Ben, I guess what's the biggest challenge that you see from a mindset perspective in most people as they're struggling with it? Because, I'd like to think that I'm kind of an extreme on one end, right? When I go in on something, I go all in. My wife tells me the same thing. She's like, listen, she actually said when I started getting into this with you, she's like, oh God, I hope this isn't one of those things where you go all in again. And then it turned into, yeah, you're going all in again. So,
I've just built a gym out the
back. But what's the biggest thing that people struggle with that you typically see from a mindset perspective?
I guess the biggest thing is self-belief and not believing that they can do it. And that is the hardest thing to overcome, because with all the will in the world, like, I'll have the belief that anybody can do anything, but if they don't believe it themselves, it becomes a real challenge. And I think, we sort of touched on it last week, that it comes down to they have failed so many times at trying to make change, and, they've tried X, Y, and Z, and they've got, a certain distance with it, or they've went so far with it, and then the shit hit the fan, and, they went backwards and whatever. And it just comes from not actually having the belief that they could do it. The other thing would be, again, getting so far in it, and this will sort of lead into the lifestyle that, they'll maybe go 6, 8, 10 weeks, whatever it is, and then something will happen that they'll be off the wagon, and then they'll feel like they're back to square one, when in actual fact, you just need to deal with that sort of isolated situation, and sort of move on from that.
That's really where I think you played a pinnacle role in my journey, right? And amongst other things, but this is one of the more foundational pieces for me, around trust and belief in you, but also trust in myself, right? And, I'd have days where I'd send you a text message Sunday morning at, 10 o'clock after I'm recovering from a hangover. And I'd be like, dude, I went poker and I ate, 7 pieces of pizza, and I had like a ton of pretzels, and, I ate, drank 7 beers or 10 beers or whatever it ended up being, and I went over my calories by 3,000, right? And I'm just back to day one again, where I'm just this horrible person again, and all this other stuff. And you're like, dude, it's just one day. Like, have fun. I mean, and you even said, like, hey, I actually take it kind of personally that you don't feel like you can go on and have those types of days, and live your life without the confidence of being able to bounce back again. And like, that was like a jolt to my system of like, oh, he's right. It's not a one-day thing. It's not a 2-day thing. This is, something that you do for the rest of your life. This is the journey, right? It took you years and years and years to get obese, or to get to the position that you're in today, or to be overly skinny, or to not be healthy in the lifestyles you have, right? It takes you time to get out of that. But when you're in that system to fall back on, that you can really rely upon, it's a comfort feeling. Like, I'll tell you, and this is getting into the nutrition side a little bit, but what's interesting with me is that when I first started on this, and my calories were very different too. So, I first started, I think I was at like 1,800 calories or something like that. And now I'm at 3,400 calories, because I put on a lot of muscle and I burn a lot more, energy. And we'll talk about nutrition in great detail and how this all works, by the way. But, I remember always wanting to figure out ways to fit certain types of food in, right? And instead of eating for the macronutrients, I was eating for myself. And then that shifted more towards, well, I need to get these amounts of pieces of protein in, and you get the, carbohydrates and fats, so that I feel good. And what's interesting now is, like, I know when I'm going to feel great that day, because of the food that I'm putting in my body and what makes my body work more. And having that system in place of being able to adjust accordingly is something that I can't even explain. Like, we talk about diets and all these other things, man. Diets really jack people up so bad. And you listen to the scientists, like I've listened to a number of podcasts that have legit scientists on that study, mind and body. And these types of things are horrible for you. They're horrible for your long-term strategies because you're used to that failure. And you mentioned failure, right? I have failed so many times on diets. Believe me, you can do this. You can absolutely do this, regardless of what your situation is, regardless if you're hurt, if you're dealing with diabetes, if you're dealing with health issues. Again, we are not doctors or scientists or anything to that effect. So we want to clear that up, that we're not telling you, we're not prescribing you anything or saying, hey, this is the way to do it. But you can do this, trust me. And those failures build you to who you are today. And it's time to understand your body. It's time to make the change to do the right things. And again, as we get older, it gets harder, right? So it doesn't mean that we have to get older. I feel like I'm in my 20s times 10. I feel better than when I was in my 20s. I mean, it's like I feel great. I got more energy than I could possibly imagine. It's crazy. I'm bouncing off the walls all the time. So it's an incredible journey. You can be successful regardless of who you are. And don't just use me as an example or Ben as an example or Chris or whomever. You can do the exact same thing if you apply the right amount of time. Listen to these podcasts, listen to the Medium post or watch the Medium post or read the Medium post that I posted, and start your journey today and being successful. Even if it's just 10,000 steps, go outside, get 10,000 steps right now. You can do that. Easy.
While you listen to our podcast.
Yeah, while you listen to our podcast. I love podcasts. That's what I do. I listen to podcasts as I'm walking, right? I love it.
I think, obviously we've touched on the fact that we'll be able to get a unique perspective on the podcast because I can give a coaching side and you can give a client perspective. And, I guess we can wrap up mindset with this point. The one thing that you mentioned to me is, a mindset that you struggled with was to believe that, you're actually in the position that you are now, to believe that you have detached from the person that you used to be and, you're not Fat Dave, for want of a better phrase, and that side of things. And I know, again, from speaking to Chris, not to keep using this as an example, we'll probably have to get him on for a podcast at some point because we keep talking about him. But he's going through the same thing that, he's actually looking in the mirror and he doesn't actually believe that he's the person that he's looking at.
Dude, his mind is blown every time he takes a picture of himself. It's like he's seeing a new person every time. It's great.
Yeah, as if there's something wrong with his camera. He's like, this is not right. But yeah, if you just want to share a bit of that in terms of, your thought process behind that, because I think that'll give a unique perspective and something that you can touch on from the client side. Yeah,
when you're going through this, the failure aspect is always in the back of your head. And, especially as, you look at your weight, and that's, again, you're talking about scale is everything and everything else, right? I think the biggest thing is the reassurance that you give, but it's not just, Chris, Luis, everybody in your team, women and men, all struggle with very similar things, but very different things, right? And I think, that support system is really important, but I also think that, failure is okay as long as it's short-term failure. Again, you pick yourself up and you build yourself up again, right? If you go out and you just blast pizza, okay, that's a day. I'm not going to do that again for at least another 4 months or something, right? You feel like, and by the way, I feel so guilty when I do that. And I know you say not to do that, but I feel so guilty when I'm like, I just totally just wrecked my calories, right? Because it's like you're putting in all this work, and Jocko will tell you the same thing, that discipline equals freedom. Having discipline to put in yourself for this long-term vision of what you want to be, is that discipline, right? And you have to do that every single day. You have to fight yourself to say, I want to be this person. I want to live longer. I want to have muscles. I want to do this. I want to eat right. I want to be in a calorie deficit or surplus or whatever it ends up being. And you have to stick by that every single day. And you may have bumps in the road, but you pick yourself back up with that bump in the road and you do it again. And again, support systems really help with that. But it's really about yourself. And I think going into the next topic of lifestyle, you have to make time for yourself. That is number one. If you do not make time for yourself, this will not be successful. And everybody struggles with time management. Everybody, I don't care who you are, you struggle with time management. Listen, I run 2 large-scale information security companies. I have a family, huge family. I have 3 kids. Like I mentioned this before, 2 dogs and 2 guinea pigs and a wife. It's a lot, right? You're dealing with everything. My kids are in sports, literally I'm in basketball, baseball, football, lacrosse, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, swimming, so I'm running around all the time, but I make time for myself. And if that's because I'm taking a meeting, while I'm walking through the park, they're going to understand. Like, listen, I can't fault Dave for being on a phone call while he's walking and taking care of himself. Most folks will understand those types of things. Or, hey, if I need to wake up a little bit early. But your lifestyle and how you live your life and how you better yourself has to be there once you have that mindset established.
Yeah, I think the lifestyle one, you're going to ask me what the biggest struggle that you see with people is. It's 100% time. And it's like you said, you have to make time for yourself. And I don't, as you said, everybody struggles with time. Everybody's busy. Everybody's level of busy is different, but it's the busiest that they are because it's their life and everything else. Everybody is busy and everybody struggles with time. But time and time again, and again, not to just talk about Chris, but he's a prime example of when we first started, he was like, I can do 2 40-minute sessions a week. And now he's like, how can I find time to do more? And it's because he feels better. He has more energy. He's more productive. He feels, better in work and everything that goes along with it. And it's finding that initial time for yourself. And if it's the only thing that you do for yourself, if you care for a lot of people, if it's business, if it's your family or whatever, if it's the only thing that you do for yourself in that day, it's going to be worth it. And Jason is a prime example of that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like he gets up early because it's the only time that he can control in the day. And to use his term, the rest of his day is a shit show. But he doesn't like getting up early, but he doesn't like missing a workout even more. So he gets up, gets his workout in, and then he's done. And he'll say himself, the only thing that he does for himself. And time there's questions that people came through, on Twitter, and a couple of people have mentioned time, and it's about finding it anywhere you can, whether it's 40 minutes, whether it's 30 minutes, whether it's you have to do 2 things at once, whether it's get a treadmill when you're standing at your desk. There are ways to do things, and it's just about finding what you can do for yourself.
Yeah, what I liked about when I first met with you, Ben, is you asked like 2 of the main important questions. One, what is your goals, right? Like everybody has different goals, right? Of what they want. I think I sent you a picture of one of the trainers from Tonal that I really liked. I'm like, I want to have those abs and I want to look jacked.
Coach Tony.
Yeah, not Coach Tony, not the Booty Buster program. But yeah, long story short, I upset the BC family when I was doing a Tonal workout with a guy named Coach Tony on my Tonal, and it's called the Booty Buster or something like that. I was working my glutes, and everybody was mad that I cheated on Ben with Coach Tony, but but my objectives were, and they've changed too, a bit. I wanted to be more lean and to have, a very muscular figure, and I still want to remain lean, but I also want to be really big muscular wise. I want to keep growing my muscle.
Jacked AF.
Jacked AF. That's what he said. I'll send Ben, pictures of my shirt off or whatever, and just say Jacked AF, and it's great to have that confidence, but. I think when everybody's different, and the one question you asked there around what is your goal, right? Is it, are you a woman and you want to be more lean in tone, or do you want to get jacked AF too? Or are you a man that really has trouble with putting weight on, right? Or are you severely obese or middle ground? I was middle ground at this point in time. I was skinny fat. I'd already dropped my obese weight. And I was a skinny fat. So, I looked fine with the shirt, but as soon as you take the shirt off, it's just a bunch of blob, right? And so, everybody has different objectives, and understanding those, I think, is most important. And then the second question you asked was, well, how much time can you give me a week? And I think that's important because, you make a commitment to yourself and you make a commitment to somebody else that you're going to put in that time. And I'm not saying you have to, again, do this with a trainer. Talk to yourself and say, listen, how much time can I give myself a week for myself? And this is for yourself. This is for you. This is for your mind. This is for your body. This is for your lifestyle. This is for your nutrition. This is for you, right? And that is the biggest commitment that you can make to yourself about making it successful. I'm going to give myself an hour a week for myself. Great. Start with something small, and as things progress, well, hey, that was easy. I can give myself 2 hours a week. Well, now I'm giving myself 3 hours a week. Now I'm giving myself this or doing this because I find time at night that I enjoy doing. Like, a lot of times, when my kids get done with sports, I go outside, I go to the park, and I do a walk. And it's right before the sun sets. It's beautiful outside. I get a walk in. Or if it's in the wintertime, I have a walking treadmill, and I do meetings on my walking treadmill. Chris is notorious for that. Chris has given entire training programs, walking on his underground treadmill with the standing desk, right? So, we find time. You can find time for yourself. Making that commitment and changing your lifestyle is number one, right? And people talk about trigger foods and all this other stuff. Listen, I didn't cut out any of my foods. Like I love pizza. That's why I always mention pizza. I'll still have pizza, but I don't eat 7 pieces of pizza unless I'm really, drinking a whole bunch of beer. But, I typically only have like 1 or 2 pieces of pizza. Okay, I dropped 600 calories. Now I need to know I need to be more protein centric, for my next 2 meals, right? So it's a balance of things that you're doing throughout your life to still live your life, but just do it within moderation. And there's this will get into nutrition a little bit, but there was a scientific study done in the 80s and 90s around animals. And when you look at scientific studies, I'm literally, Ben will tell you, I'm up until like 2 o'clock in the morning reading scientific studies. And like, I just love understanding the science behind my body. I love hacking my body. And one of the things that was interesting about this study, and we'll put this in the show notes as well, is when you look at the body itself, there's so many varying things changing all the time on scientific studies because human beings are really hard to do really great analysis on because, there's so many variables and you can't like cage a human being and lock them into a specific type of nutrition or supplements or things to that effect. There's so many variations that occur in our lifestyle and demographics and things to that effect that make it very difficult. So, usually the testing ends up being on monkeys and rats and things of that effect or mice. And so this study was done on mice. And what was interesting is they took 2 series of mice over the age of their life. And they looked at what the normal caloric intake was for mice. And they basically caged them as they would normally would. And they had 2 sets of mice. One was at a normal normal amount of calories that they would take in per day in the wild. And the other one was in a caloric restriction at 70%. So they cut back 30% of their calories. Now, when you cage an animal, you're obviously doing less working out. You don't have to forage for food. You don't have to worry about predators. There's a lot of things that change in your environment. Human beings, very much so caged, right? We don't have to forage for our food. Food is readily available. A lot of our lifestyles, especially from our jobs, are unhealthy. We're sitting in front of a computer. We're arched over. We're doing all these things that don't necessarily do it. And what they found is that the animals that maintain their normal calorie intake, not, that would be in the wild, being caged, were morbidly obese. Those that cut back 30% of their calories were in great shape, or were in the healthy weight range. They lost muscle mass, but they were in a healthy range and lived longer versus those that didn't. So, when we start getting into the nutrition aspects and lifestyle, we have to look at that and say, okay, well, we're caged animals. How do we put ourselves out of that, give our time to be healthy for ourselves so that we can maintain our lifestyle that we want to, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think, the lifestyle thing it's a big one because you're exactly right. People think they need to cut back this and cut back that. And whenever I think of lifestyle, I think, some people like to go out and socialize and they like to do whatever it is. And if you want to talk about pizza, all of those things can be included. And I'll say this a million times over that if I tell you can't have something, it's the only thing that you can think about. If I tell you can't have broccoli, you will become obsessed with broccoli. Like no one gives a shit about broccoli, but whatever it is, if I start to tell you can't have things, then you will crave them and you will want them more. Whereas if I give you the full freedom, it's almost like, if you're craving pizza and you feel like you can't have it, then all of a sudden I said, you can have pizza, whatever. And you're like, well, I don't, I'll take it or leave it. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that's to the forefront of your mind. With the lifestyle thing and the time thing, a couple of people have come back to me and you say, yeah, okay. They feel like making the time for themselves is selfish because they have a family, they have work, and they have other commitments. After a couple of months when they come back, they say, that time is actually almost a selfless act because they're a better parent, they're a better partner, they're a better work colleague, whatever it is. And they've improved their relationships and with everybody around them. So it's just sort of finding that initial where you can get the foot in the door in terms of time, how you can balance, the foods that you enjoy, your social life. And it was fine during lockdown. Everybody was losing loads of weight because nobody had any social events. It was easy, but now that everything's starting to sort of come back to normal or whatever, social events are a thing and everybody has the tools and they know exactly how they manage it. And that just comes down to the education and actually understanding their body and what they can and ultimately can't do or need to sort of, I guess, not restriction, I guess, knowing exactly what you can have and not totally taking the piss with it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm eating things now, or even if I'm having a beer with some friends, right? I don't go for the heavy IPAs that I used to do, right? They're going to be 400 calories per shot. I might go with like a Corona Light or something like that. I'm still enjoying drinking with my friends or things like that. I don't drink very often. But it literally messes up my recovery more than I want to. So it's more of a selfish thing for myself. I want to be able to push myself harder. It really, from a lifestyle perspective, and especially once you have the tools around nutrition and you have the mindset, this comes into play, right? And this was a gradual change for me, right? This doesn't happen overnight, but is something where you start off small and you work your way up, right? And you push your body, you push your limits, you push your time, and then it starts to become second nature. And guess what? It has been very contagious to my entire family. My wife, for example, my kids, want to eat healthy. They want to work out. It has motivated them to live a healthy lifestyle. And I wish the information that we had today on our bodies and the science behind it was available when I was a kid. And I wish that was taught to me because I think I would have had a completely different life in a good way, in a positive way, than my history. And, I'm glad I'm leaving this type of legacy for my kids so that they have the right foundation to build off of, as well as my wife getting more interactive. She does Orange Theory with me and everything else. And she's eating healthy. She's using the Tavalas that I eat and everything else from a planned meal perspective. So it's really changed our household where everybody is focused on it. And I love that. Right. And it's very contagious, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, that's again where it comes back to having that support network and having the group. And whether it's, our coaching group or whether it's just an online community, it's finding a good support network where, okay, yes, you'll maybe go in to get something from it, but it's also giving back to it in terms of you'll celebrate other people's successes. And, we've, as you said last week, like we've been on calls that people really share their struggles. And, if there's 10 or 15 people on the call and you're saying, oh, look, I struggle with this, 10 out of the 15 people are going to go, oh yeah, I have been in that situation before. This is what I did, X, Y, and Z. And you're like, all right, okay, well, if they do it, then I can overcome it. And, we can sort of move forward with that. And like you said, we share obviously food and we have the crack with Whoop and the leaderboard and stuff like that. But it is, people look at you in the group and people look at whoever else in the group and think, fuck, right, I want to push myself. I want to do a bit more. Like I want to get more. And then obviously, like you said, that moves into, the family and even people going back to work, people at the start. I remember whenever I first started training, I worked in a restaurant and I'd be like stood out the back with my Tupperware, eating this big Tupperware. And the coach that I had at the time always made me eat raw vegetables. And it took me forever to eat, like 45 minutes to eat this Tupperware. People are like, why are you eating that? Like, not just go and get a burger or whatever else. And then like a couple of months down the line, they see like my mood has changed. I have more energy. Then I did the first photo shoot I did. And they're like, so what was it that you had in that Tupperware? Can you tell me a bit more about that? And they want to know more. And then it starts to sort of filter in. And I think one of the biggest things that you sort of touched on is the kids as well. Like you want to lead a good example and you want to sort of give them the best tools to make those decisions themselves. Yeah.
And I think, the aspect that has changed into my life around that has made, my family better. But most importantly, everybody's living a great life, right? We're all healthy. We're all, and obviously that can change, but we're all healthy right now. We're feeling great. And I can't explain to you the mental clarity that I have now versus then, right? I was in a fog all the time. I was taking supplements, trying to get rid of brain fog. I felt like crap. My entire, energy levels were depleted. I really felt like I was old, right? And that this was the norm, that I had to be old. And this is my 30s, right? And I can't even explain to you now. I'm sharper than I ever have been before from a mental perspective. I have more energy than I've ever had before. I'm motivated to do things. Like yesterday, my son's going to start mowing the lawn, so we got a electric mower for him. And I was like, first thing I did is get it out, build it and make sure it's all working and test all those things out. That would have taken me 3 weeks, before in the past, because I just didn't want to go outside and because it was hot out or whatever the excuses were. Like I'm motivated to do things around the house. I'm motivated to do things in my kid's life. I have the energy to wake up in the morning and do the work that I need to. I'm a better person because of it. I'm a better hacker because of it. I retain more information. My brain is healthy. All of these things are benefits of this type of lifestyle that you can expect to almost happen, as you start to incorporate this, right? And I think that gets us into nutrition, which is, if you look at the four pillars, we have mindset, lifestyle, nutrition, and body, right? And again, we're going to be going over these in great detail in each and every podcast. So we're going to be doing the next 4 podcasts are going to go into each one of these by themselves exclusively, right? Nutrition is one that I think we could spend like 10 podcasts on because it's so important. And what people hear about nutrition is so jacked up. And again, I don't want to claim we're nutritionists in any way. We're not. I'd recommend seeking out a nutritionist if you can to understand your body. There's so many things that go into the complexities around your body, but at the end of the day, it really is calories in versus calories out, right? And it's how many calories you're putting into your body, and it's how many calories you burn. And there's something called total daily energy expenditure and your base metabolic rate. And so total daily energy expenditure is going to vary based on the amount of effort that you put in. So we're always told to do cardio. Cardio is great cardiovascular wise for your heart, your health, your blood pressure, things of that effect. It has some great effects for you. I love cardio. But it's not going to make you lose weight. What most people do when they do cardio is they eat more because your body's saying, well, listen, I want to eat more, because you burn more calories. And so you end up being in more of a caloric surplus, which then you gain weight or you don't lose any weight and you can't figure out why, which is exactly where I was at before I started with Ben. And, there's also, there's a lot of scientists studying the fat burning aspects of your body right now. And there's, what's called the fat line, basically the fat baseline. And what happens is there's a certain point in your body where your body is okay with you losing fat, then it gets pissed at you because you're losing fat. So it'll actually start taking away from things like muscle if you're not getting appropriate protein and things of that effect, right? And so, understanding these aspects of your body, understanding macronutrients, which, to give you just a quick breakdown of macronutrients, well, Ben, you can do a better job than I can. These are all things that you need to know from a fundamentals perspective to really start that. And I can't emphasize enough, count your calories. Count every calorie that goes into your body starting today. If you take anything out of this podcast, go download MyFitnessPal. It's free. And every single time you put something in your mouth, grab the calories. Now, is it going to be perfect at first? Nope. But you're going to start to learn, hey, this is serving sizes. This is the macronutrient breakdown of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Keep yourself within a certain range and then monitor your weight as you're going along. If you want to lose weight, shrink down on the calories, put yourself in a deficit. If you want to increase weight, put yourself in a surplus. You can monitor these, and your goal should be to gain 1 or 2 pounds a week or to lose 1 or 2 pounds a week. That's really the goal here, and you can do that, and it's all literally just math and understanding your body. Read the Medium post, but Ben, if you want to break down macros, that'd be awesome. I think just at least as a base.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing I would like to point out is I get questions a lot as to where can I start and, what should I do with my food and what's the best diet and whatever the other questions are. And obviously, you need a lot of context to come with that. And the most generic answer that I can give that will be an actionable step for anybody today is yes, 100% track your calories. And what you need to do is track them for 2 weeks, but also monitor how your body responds. So if you track your calories for 2 weeks and there's no change, then just drop your calories slightly. If you track your calories for 2 weeks and your weight goes up and your goal is to take it down, then drop them by a little bit more. If you track your weight if you track your calories and your weight comes down just the way you want it to, like you said, 1 to 2 pounds, I prefer to look at 1 to 2% of your total body weight. And this is something we'll touch on when we go in a bit more in depth, because you'll know from your own experience that the more that you have to lose, the easier it will come off. And then you start to get pissed whenever it's like, oh, well, last 3 weeks ago I was losing 7 pounds a week and now I'm losing 1. What is actually going on? So the more that you actually have, the easier it is to come off. So just start tracking your calories. Monitor the way your body responds, because people just track their calories because they have heard, oh, I have to use MyFitnessPal, and they don't actually ever do anything with the information. It's not just put your calories into MyFitnessPal and you're going to start losing weight. It's what way is my body responding to it, and how can I adapt that to sort of suit my goal? As you know, again, whenever I start out with anybody, it's just a calorie goal and a protein goal. again, we'll talk more on the nutrition side of things about protein and why it's so important. But just to slightly touch on it, it's the most thermogenic macro in terms of it takes your body more calories, higher percentage of calories to digest the food than any other macro, and that's why it's ultimately up there at the top. The other two are fats and carbs, and again, we'll go into it fully in the nutrition side of things because I feel like it needs its own space. But to get started, all I think that you need to do is track your calories and track your protein intake. And actually, the podcast that you sent me last night, they talk about people asking how much protein they need, and they say you maybe only need like 50 or 60 grams, but if we're trying to look at like how can we optimize this, like what is the optimal amount, then that's whenever you need to start looking at, I tend to go with 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now again, person dependent and whatever else, but as a start point, calories and protein, monitor how your body responds to it.
Yeah, and I've heard also another one. So the 1 gram per pound of per pound of weight is a good analogy, but if you're weighing 300 pounds, you don't want 300 grams of protein, right? So if you're already in an overweight situation, the general rule of thumb is 1 gram per 1 gram of protein per 1 centimeter of height. So take your height, if you're 6'4", whatever, divide that or get it into a centimeter format, and then you want 1 pound of protein per that. So for me, it's around right now where I'm at, I'm not using that metric at this moment because my muscle mass has increased substantially. So, I'm around the 230 to 250 grams of protein a day for what I do. And people always struggle with, how do I get that much amount of protein? And we'll get into that, trust me. Whole foods, you want to buy, around 80% whole foods or 70% whole foods, to get your protein intake from those meals. So I have smaller meals throughout the day. So like a chicken breast, for example, is going to be 20 to 30 grams of protein. I think a steak, 40 to 50 grams of protein, so you can scale those out throughout the day. And then I supplement things like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, things that are high in protein intake that can get me to that. And then, think of carbohydrates as your energy source, right? And, what's interesting with Ben's like, dude, you're going to come to a point to where, you're just eating carbs all the time. And I'm like, man, that is exactly the opposite of what I've been told. Like, I'm not supposed to eat carbs because carbs equal fat. No, carbs are your energy sources. And I feel like total crap if I don't have my carbs, man. I need my carbs to keep my energy going throughout the day. There's a difference between simple and complex carbohydrates, and they have different things versus insulin spikes immediately versus, kind of balanced throughout the road. So, if I'm just getting done with the big workout, I'll grab a banana to recover some glycogen stores, and also have like a bagel, as I'm going through to try to eat something. But nutrition is going to be a whole aspect that we talk about as we go along, and I really can't emphasize that. I know we're coming up to time, so we got to get to body. Believe me, we're going to go into nutrition so much more. Your minds are going to blow up when we start getting into all this and we start getting into the details. But from the nutrition piece, some things that you can take away from this is read that Medium post that I wrote. It has all of that in there to get you kind of a primer of how to use MyFitnessPal screenshots and everything else. But just know that if you're gaining weight, it's because you're eating too many calories. Period. If you're losing too much weight, it's because you're not eating enough calories. Period. If you're just staying the same, you're at your total daily energy expenditure, which means that you're basically at a maintenance mode, which is, just eating enough calories and keeping the same amount of food that you would do to meet that specific area. So if your goal is to lose, 1 to 2 pounds a week, you put yourself in a caloric deficit of maybe 200 or 300 calories a day. Adjust it slightly. But one thing with Ben is like, when I'm going in a surplus, it's taken me like 4 months to get the 3,400 calories from a 2,500 piece, right? It's slow increments every week to see how my body adjusts to everything. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I think just to wrap up the nutrition side of things, one thing I will say is don't overcomplicate it. Just start by tracking your calories. Don't look at food as good or bad. Just look at it in terms of like nutritional value. So is this nutritionally in line with my goals? As you said, 80% whole foods, 20% you have that sort of bit of freedom with. And know that not one single macronutrient makes you fat. It's not carbs that make you fat. It's not fat that makes you fat. It's not protein that makes you fat. It's overconsumption of calories continuously that makes you add fat tissue. And like you said, if you're putting on weight, then just eat less food. And it's not as simple as that, but as a start point, that's where we can start.
Yep. And then last on the body, your mind, body, everything needs to be the same, right? And We'll talk about supplements, what that means. I'm on testosterone replacement therapy. I've been very transparent about that and what that's been for me. I had very low testosterone levels. I'm not saying that everybody needs that by any stretch of means. It's very specific cases for that. But blood work, things to that effect is also really great. Especially on the men's side of the house, we do not take care of ourselves or go to the doctor. Statistically, women do a much better job of this. So getting into the doctor, getting some stuff done, getting some blood work done to understand what your chemical balances are, your micronutrients is also a good test. See where you're deficient at and potentials, vitamins, minerals, protein sources, whole foods. Making sure that you figure out your body for what you want to do and what you want to work on, right? And I think that's a piece there. Obviously getting into the weight training, resistance training, hypertrophy, progressive overload, all of those things that trigger your responses for protein synthesis in your body to create muscle. Those are all things that we'll get into as we go along and programs and things like that you can use. If you want a great resource, just getting into the muscle building side, I'm a huge fan of Jeff Nippard. He breaks down the science and the workout routines that you can use all free on YouTube. Good stuff there.
Yeah, I think the reason that I just said body is because there's so much that can come under it. You've got sleep, you've got supplements, you've got hormones. It covers how your body looks. It covers how your body moves. It covers how your body operates in general. We look at mobility. We look at the training aspect of things, everything that sort of comes along with that. And I wouldn't solely say in terms of like the male side of things for hormones. And one of the big things that I see with females is they go on super restricted calorie diets. And what tends to happen is, not to again talk about periods, but they get to the place that their body starts to shut down functions that it doesn't need because they're so restricted in terms of calories. So it's trying to like reserve energy as much as possible. So there's a whole other aspect to it down the line. I think we'll probably have to do a podcast on periods. So I don't know if you want to be involved in that, but we can do it.
I've already been at 17 meetings of periods anyway, so it doesn't bother me.
You're an expert.
I'm an expert on periods now, apparently. So
yeah.
I actually put a lot of that back to my wife, and she's also been researching a lot of them. It's great to understand your body, right? And this is the whole thing. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We're going to get into all those topics for both sexes. It's important to understand your body and how it works and how it operates. We are very different, body types, and so getting into all of that, I think, is really important.
Yeah, I agree. The body one will be probably two podcasts. They could all be two podcasts, I guess.
They really could. Yeah.
So we're coming up on an hour. I know that we had some questions, but I guess we could probably just do a separate podcast for questions, so we can cover it all in. Yeah, no, that's cool. Again, I just want to say thanks for everybody for listening, for coming this far. Obviously, everything's set up and good to go in terms of all social media platforms, all podcast platforms that we could ever imagine, YouTube channel, website, things like that. Any questions for either I or Dave, hashtag WeHackHealth or at WeHackHealth on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, website, whatever it is, and we'll try and incorporate a Q&A podcast every so often as well, just to cover what everybody needs.
Yeah, again, our goal is to create a community of folks where we can help out, right? Our whole goal is to help out others. So if you have questions that you want us to answer, things to that effect, please let us know. The contact us information, you can contact us and shoot us a message on our website, which is wehack.health. Again, as Ben mentioned, we're on all the major, Instagram, Twitter, everything else, not Facebook, but Instagram, Twitter, Spotify.
I'll do Facebook. I'll do it right now.
I'll do Facebook next. I got to add another link. Again, really trying to create a community for everybody. It's not just the security industry. It's for everybody that's out there that is looking to make a change or wants to tweak things they're doing, or maybe already understand all of this stuff, but they're just looking for better perspectives on as they get older in age. Our whole goal is to really provide that resources for you. So really appreciate the community support that we've already had. It's been amazing. And it's just really cool to see everybody come together and again, motivating for me and motivating for Ben, just to see people taking care of themselves. We don't take care of ourselves in our own industry. We really need to focus on that. And the better your body is, the better your mind's going to be, the better you're going to hack. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. See you next week.
See you next week.